Rural Examiner is here with Mark Butler, candidate for Warren County Sheriff this year, one of four. And we talked yesterday at your meet and greet at the Front Row Brewery, but it was a little noisy in there. And
We had a lot of people.
I think our audio was a little muddy.
Yeah, we had a lot of people in there. It was a great turnout.
And coincidentally, it was a good day for you because yesterday the rumor mills were floating about you resigning, turning your badge in, and withdrawing from the sheriff's office race. And we know how social media can be, so we decided to come by and talk to you. We're going to talk to you again with a little cleaner audio about exactly what the truth of what's going on with you, your job, and your candidacy this week.
Well, first of all, yesterday was it was a double-edged sword for me. It was almost like a celebration. I was planning on retiring June 1st. Before I decided to run for sheriff. That's the day I turned 50. And then we had decided...
You've been in law enforcement long enough to retire?
At 50 years old, I can retire. I've been doing this since I was 17, so... Well, that in the military. It's, like I said, it was a double-edged sword. It's scary at one point, and but I believe in what I'm doing. The scary part is as any law enforcement officer knows, any deputy, anybody who wears a badge and a gun, it's really who you are instead of what you do. It really is your makeup. And so to lose your
sort
identity...
of like people that follow you all around with a notebook.
Right, it's what you do, right? And so when you stop doing it, you're like, oh, what do I, am I putting it, there's a lot of risks to give up everything I have accomplished and achieved and I guess created in myself or developed in myself as a career law enforcement officer to put it all out on the line to run for sheriff.
But yesterday wasn't June 1st, so
No.
Exactly what decision did you come to?
Well, we had been talking about it, my close individuals in the campaign, and as we got closer and closer to the election, we knew I was going to have to do it anyway to give, either take a leave of absence, use all my annual leave or whatever. And I just looked at it and talked with the financial advisor, my wife, and she, we realized, hey, there's really no difference in your retirement from 50 and then now. And a lot of people don't understand that me being a disabled veteran, this is kind of my second retirement anyway. So we had already had plans for me to start applying for jobs in January and maybe getting out of law enforcement. But when 2 years ago I decided to run for sheriff, we all sat down as a family and said, hey, if we're going to do it, got to be all in. 100%. So we knew when we got closer to October that day would possibly come. And after I saw our entire local government be arrested, something hit me, and it was really, how can I ask people that are on my committee and that so many people that have come out of the shadows to support us, who are taking time off, putting their hard-earned money into our campaign and so on and so forth to help us get to a position who believe in me and our vision. How can I tell them that if I'm not giving 100%?
So did you actually go in and do the plan to utilize your remaining leave between now and June 1st, or did you officially retire early?
No, I officially, because I'm not 50, I couldn't. I'm fully invested, but because I wasn't 50, you can't retire. So I had to resign, and I heard people say that I left mid-shift. Well, when you start your shift and you get to work at 5 in the morning, get up at 4, and administration doesn't really get there till 9 or 10 o'clock, it takes a couple hours to actually clear the paperwork and get out, but it is what it is. I went in and I had a great conversation with my captain, a man that I respect, and I gave him my letter And he looked at me and he goes, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, you know, and it states in my resignation letter that my community, our community, is going through a travesty. And, you know, leaders lead by example. If you're going to talk the talk, you walk the walk. So this is probably one of the, in my opinion, my eyes, the most important thing I've ever done in my entire career.
So the time that's being freed up by your no longer being employed in Herndon as a police officer is going to be devoted to your campaign?
100%. This morning by 6 o'clock, I was up and getting stuff ready and talking and answering phone calls and text messages and so forth.
A little more community-wide, door-to-door?
We are going to do an abundance of that. But, you know, we've been doing a lot of that since the very beginning for 2 years, sitting at the flea markets, going to the senior center, going into the stores and the shops, going door-to-door. And we will continue to do that. We just did a mailing to hit the South Warren, all of South Warren. We're wanting to get people out to see us and meet us. Because our county is so rural, it is hard to go door-to-door and hit every door. And I don't want to impose on people's time off. They work all day. You know, some people may not want to hear, "Here comes Mark Butler running for sheriff." Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear from you today. You know, I'm busy, I'm tired, and I have 3 kids, 2 kids, or whatever. So I'd rather set up these meet and greets so people can come meet me and ask me. Ask me whatever question you want. I'm going to give you my answer. If you don't like it, I can't help that. But you're going to get a straight answer from me.
So you alluded to the 14 people charged on Tuesday, all the sitting county supervisors, and then some past and present EDA board members on misfeasance and nonfeasance charges related to a lack of oversight of what was going on at the EDA. You alluded to the importance of what's happening. What was your view of that, and how did it impact your decision to move right now into retirement and or pending retirement and 100% time on this campaign?
Well, I won't get into the legal aspect of it. I'm not the one working the case. But let's be honest, I don't know that it's ever happened that an entire local government gets arrested. This is one of the largest embezzlement cases, if I'm not mistaken, the largest in the state, and it's a shame because it's our trusted officials that have been in position for a long time, and it's really, whether they're tied guilty, found guilty, not guilty, it's the lack of trust now that's lying within the community is coming out, and people are speaking out on it. And I'm a member of the community as well, and I love this community, and it's time we take our community back, and that's why we have "we" on all our shirts.
You've worked in Herndon for quite a while. How long have you lived here?
Over 20 some years. I've lived here, coached football, coached soccer, made some parents mad by yelling. But I've really, you know, coached at the high school. I've been in this community a long time. It's a great community. I was able to grow as an adult here. I was able to raise my children here. And because of the great teachers and the great community we have, I feel very fortunate that my children have made and accomplished something for themselves as well.
Now, you also mentioned the sort of, there's a certain, everybody needs to go, we need to clean house and start over. How do you balance a certain institutional continuity with there needs to be a change because people haven't been doing their job? If you were in the sheriff's office now, would you worry that if you won, there would be a clean house type operation? Or
as I've said in the very beginning, I have taught at that academy for going on almost 7 years, I believe it is. And there's a lot of great deputies in that department. There's a lot of great deputies who have the right mindset. I am not cleaning house. What I have always said is this: if you have a criminal record and you can't pass a polygraph, you probably will not have a job. Matter of fact, you won't have a job in Warren County Sheriff's Office. And the reason being is, if you go through and look at across the country, departments that are nationally accredited, they hold their officers and their departments to the highest of standards. That's why I was really flabbergasted that we lost our accreditation and we let it go. It was a horrible time to let our accreditation go, because now there's no one there at least holding us to a standard. And that's what the accreditation, one of the
How
reasons,
recent did that happen?
it was just a few months ago that they lost it. I believe it was in July. And it's a tough thing to do, and we're going to reach for national accreditation. We're going to look into CALEA to get nationally accredited, like the Front Royal Police Department is. And I commend Cal McGillis. Chief McGillis, I commend him for it. CALEA is a tough thing. It just means working extra harder. And we're going to do that.
Have you reached out to people in the sheriff's office to explain your position, that where you're coming from as far as continuity
I have. I've reached out.
and the reaccreditation?
I've reached out to several deputies. And like anywhere, there's they have the right to choose who they want. We have a lot of supporters. We have a lot of deputies that are supporting us that are afraid. I've been told that directly. They're afraid to come out and say that they're supporting me. And I tell them, I say, hey, just keep it low. You really don't get into the political nonsense, because that's been that's what this is right now. It's political nonsense. That's why I'm not slinging mud and I'm not doing any of that. I'm just telling you, this is who I am. This is what I want to run on. This is my vision, our vision, and that's who I am. I'm not going to sit there and play politics. I'm not going to do political policing, statistical policing. We are going to do true, no holding back community policing. That's what this is about. That's what our community needs. That's what we need to heal. And that's what we're going to do. And the deputies, I believe, will actually appreciate it. And they will appreciate it, and they will enjoy working for a professional, solid sheriff's office that's respected across the country.
And you talked about Chief McGillis and the town police department.
Correct.
And their accreditation situation. How important do you think it is to coordinate law enforcement in the community between the two agencies?
Oh,
Because Chief McGillis came out of the sheriff's office,
he did.
as the sheriff before him did.
But he's also done really well as Cal McGillis is his own man, and I respect Cal. Cal McGillis has had some hard things happen to him in the last few years, and my prayers are out for him. There's an abundance of great officers in the Front Royal Police Department. I will work hand in hand with every agency, every law enforcement agency, locally and federally. I've reached out to many sheriffs surrounding our counties to see if we can work together and to start building bridges with them as well. That is something that has to be done. Just because you put a badge on that says sheriff, it's not your world. You're a servant of the people. So your job is to actually bring everyone together and serve the people, not sit in an office in an administrative position and just point and direct.
And across agencies, the now somewhat embattled Board of Supervisors holds the purse strings for the sheriff office. I guess post-election, when we see the result with the sheriff's department and the supervisors, say you were the new sheriff of Warren County, how would you approach the new board of supervisors if it's a mix of old and new? Well, it will be because the two positions aren't up this year unless they resign. Do you see any difficulty in negotiating the budget in the next cycle with the supervisors?
No, because I believe we're going to go through professionally and ethically, and they will see what we need. I'm not going to ask for frivolous things that we don't need. We don't need $80,000 Suburbans to drive around in. We don't need $60,000 Tahoes to drive around in. There's a lot of money out there.
Maybe near the top of some of the mountains.
We can use other vehicles to get to the top of the mountain. We don't need to be wasting money. What we need to be doing is focusing how we can get our deputies equally paid for the job that they do. It's kind of a shame that deputies are, making a salary, and with a wife and 3 kids, they can almost apply for food stamps. There's a problem with that. So what I want to do is I want to work with every board of supervisor, every government official, to let's bring the best sheriff's office together. And most officers don't do this job for money in the first place, but let's make it so they can live in our county somehow. Even if that's like doing a program like Loudoun County did by housing assistance, getting houses and helping our deputies afford to buy those houses so that we can have them in the community. Now we have officers in the community 24/7. There's so many different routes and ways we can go to invoke community policing, and to walk around with blinders on and say, oh, well, this is how we've done it for 20, 30 years, and keep it status quo.
And the county has recently done a compensation study, which the sheriff's office is one of the large employment bases in the county, and I think they're debating now on how much to spend on the first year of implementation on trying to bring salaries countywide into line with the surrounding jurisdictions.
And we need to. We really do. But you're going to keep your good deputies. Someone said, I talked to one of the officials, and they were saying, hey, if we give them too much training, I can't believe this individual said this, if we give them too much training and we make them too smart, they'll just go and leave somewhere else.
Not if we get the salaries in line.
Well, think about that, Roger. You're telling me you're going to put a guy with a badge and gun, or a female with a badge and gun on the street with lack of training because you're afraid he's going to leave or she's going to leave and go to somewhere else? How can you afford not to do that?
Right.
That's a walking liability. Every time that person gets in the car and they're not properly trained, it's ridiculous. And, I'm very, very fortunate that I've been a part of 2 great police departments, or sheriff's office and a police department, and then working with the feds, that training was never an issue. Was never an issue. So my training records clearly show. I would love for all of us to put our training records out there.
I guess you have to wonder if that sort of mindset of if we overtrain, we're going to lose people, had anything to do with the accreditation lapse recently.
We'll have to look into all of it, and when we get inside on the January 4th, I believe it is, we will definitely do a complete inventory of that sheriff's office, and we will be transparent on what we find. We will be clear and let the community know how we're going to solve and fix the problem.
Well, Mark Butler, thank you for being with us today. We don't want to keep you here too long since you got to go out and start traversing the county door to door and are getting your mail outs ready. However you're going to approach the new 100% time into this.
Well, it's definitely 100%.
Thanks again for being with us.
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate it.
All right.